Thanks, everyone. Among the other COVID restrictions is a time limit. They allow 30 minutes for services, and we've got quite a lot to get through, so it's great that we can start on time. I think we're long past the stage where people are saying that COVID-19 is just another flu. It's not. And we're at a stage where death is no longer just a pandemic or a medical or a scientific issue. Death has now got a name and a face. And today that name is Fuzzy, Brian van Asweken, and that face is the one that you see in front of you. It's quite poignant that we're holding the service here at the place from where Fuzzy conducted affairs, sitting up at the top at the back there. I was thinking to myself, just like a church service here, he'd still be sitting at the back with the naughty guys. And I remember when I used to get down here for matches, normally I would arrive a bit late because I'm putting the newspaper away in the morning, and I'd get here late and I'd say, Fuzzy, how's it going? And he would say, they had a bunch of palookas. And I'd have to look to see if we're batting or bowling, and then look at the scorecard to see if he's talking about his team or the other team or the visitors. And that was Fuzzy. And then every time when I got here, he would always ask me, he knows that I'm very much into my soccer and Richards Bay Football Club, and he would always ask me how they're doing, and he would know their log position and how they did the last game and all the rest of it. And it was important for him to say that because he knew it was important for me, and that's really the thing about Fuzzy. What mattered to you mattered to him. The sympathy did run out a bit when we discussed my Chelsea and his Liverpool. Then his kind of niceness ran away a little bit at those stages. I think had it been under normal circumstances, I think we would be having a wake here today. I'm quite sure of that. Many toasts would have been drunk to him. Someone asked me once, what's the difference between an Irish wake and an Irish wedding? And the difference is there's one fewer drinker at the wake. And Fuzzy certainly is missing here today. Our condolences to everyone. This has been a massive, massive shock for everyone, and I just know how you all feeling, and I just want to pay tribute, I know others will, to people like Carmen and Anton who've been right at the center of these most difficult times. Thank you for that. I have a short message here today, a spiritual lesson. And I know Fuzzy would have said to me, Dave, actually he always called me Mr. Editor, said, Mr. Editor, don't say anything complicated, don't use any long words. This is not the brightest bunch. That's what he would say to me, draw them pictures. So what I've done today is I've literally drawn you a picture. I've brought you a picture. I don't know if we're managing to get it up on there, but anyone who's familiar with biblical geography or the geography of Israel will see that I'm showing you a map, and it's got the Sea of Galilee on the top and the Jordan River going down to the Dead Sea. By the way, it's not named after Neil Jordan, in case any of you cricketers are wondering about that. And it's quite an interesting, and I want to use that analogy today because it's something that talks about life, and specifically about Fuzzy's life. And if you've seen pictures, and I'm sure you have, maybe you've even been lucky enough to visit there, you'll know that if you go to the Dead Sea, you can actually lie down in the water and float and read a newspaper and just do whatever you like because you float. And there's a reason why you float, because it's so full of sludge and salt and organic matter that it's actually impossible to sink. You're just totally buoyant. And then if you go up that Jordan River to the Sea of Galilee on the top, it's vibrant. There's fishing. There's so many biblical stories about people catching fish there and casting their nets. And then as the river goes down through the Jordan, there's people making livelihoods and all the rest of it because of that. And there's a reason why the Dead Sea is dead. And that reason is because it's got no outlets. Everything that comes into it stays in it. It's like a reservoir. It's like that. As opposed to the Sea of Galilee, whatever it receives from the rain or the melted snow or anything like that, it shares that with others. And that's exactly how lives are. There's those lives that just take everything they can get, keep it to themselves, use it themselves, and those people are generally dead. And then there are others like the Sea of Galilee, like Fuzzy was, that whatever it receives, it gives. And that's exactly what Fuzzy did. I was thinking about how I reckon he had a pretty good childhood, as did most of us. You know, we went to a nice school and we played a lot of our sport and that. And then you get to the age maybe where you say to yourself, well, I can't do this any longer. And then you take on the Dead Sea mentality and you say, well, that's it. That's me. I've had my share. Thank you very much. And that's not what Fuzzy did. They say there are two types of people in life, the givers and the takers. The takers eat better, but the givers sleep better. I think Fuzzy slept pretty well. Everything that he had, that he learned, that he acquired through his playing of sport and learning about that, he passed that down to others. I'm standing here today wearing the old Utungulu shirt. And that's just a reminder to me and perhaps to all of us here that Fuzzy served in coaching, management, administration and so forth during an incredibly difficult time in sport, and especially cricket. And he played such a vital role in the transformation and the development of the sport and all the rest of it. And I look from here to the new one. He has got King Setswayo probably to its highest level that it's ever been. He's nurtured them to their cricket is very strong and healthy through him and the things that he did. He distributed his talents, he shared his blessings. He moaned quite a bit as well. You know, that was Fuzzy, he did that. But he always did it with the right motive. And if he ever gave people stick, it was to tell them where to get on, not where to get off. That's just the way that he was. And I think that we need to, when we think about Fuzzy, realize that he was following in the tradition of many other people who have kept sport alive in Zululand. And one of the tragedies of sport is that rural sport and the old Platteland sport has just been going down and down. But he has followed the tradition of the Addisons and the Mick Kellys and the Chris Edwards and the Mark Harrisons and the Martin Gordons and a couple of the old bullies like Roger here today that have ploughed back into their various sports. And that's what he did. And that, to me, is going to be his greatest legacy. I was trying to think as I prepared, who does Fuzzy remind me of? Because, you know, you can normally do that. And I could not think of one person that he reminded me of. There wasn't another person like him. And I still, now, and I've been thinking a couple of days, there's just absolutely no one of that. But, you know, life is a circle of sowing and reaping. And I said to you already that whatever Fuzzy got, whatever he reaped, he sowed that back again. But the beauty about that is that when you do that, it comes back to you. It comes back to you, whether good or bad. You know, the Bible says you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. Well, when you sow good acts and kind acts, it comes back to you. And Fuzzy, because he gave so much, enjoyed some wonderful privileges. He enjoyed the friendships of all of you. And I know most of you cricketers, and I know what he meant to you, and we'll hear the tributes. You were not just his players. You were his family. You were his purpose. You were his life. And for that reason, he never walked alone. Literally, never walked alone. And he got so much back. I just, as a parent of Simon, of one of the players, I was thinking to myself, you know, and most of you have come that route as well. When Simon was still a schoolboy, he started playing club cricket, as I'm sure a lot of you did as well. And, you know, when you make that jump and you come into the adult world, I know that I always hoped that he would fall under the right influences, because I know how it goes. I've seen guys leave school and start their sport and become career alcoholics. I've seen that. I've seen that in Empangeni and Richards Bay. They've done that. And I thank the Lord for the people like Fuzzy who instilled discipline and courage and dedication and those kind of things. I just know that he put my son on a wonderful cricket career path, and I'm thankful. And the others, I'm sure that you can say exactly the same thing. So that's what life is about. And I want to just share a poem with you, and it's a most beautiful poem. And just fortunately for us, it's got a cricket theme on it as well. And the poem is called Vitae Lampada, and it was written many, many years ago. 1892 it was written. And it was written about, the first verse talks about a young schoolboy who's the last man into bat in terrible conditions. and he's afraid, and the bowlers are quick, and the light is bad, and all the rest of it, and his captain just gives him the encouragement. And then it goes on in the next verse, that same young person, he's a couple of years older, is now on the battlefield fighting in a war, and the comrades are dying all around him, and he has to summon up that same courage that he was given when he was younger. And then the last verse, that person is facing death and has to summon up the courage for that as well. And so this is a poem about sport and sportsmanship. It's about honor, it's about commitment, it's about the principles and the disciplines that we learned in our formative years. It's about the strength of character that we need. And as I say, it's just wonderful that the metaphor is drawn from the game of cricket. And I want to read that for you. There's a breathless hush in the close tonight. 10 to make and the match to win. A bumping pitch and a blinding light. An hour to play and the last man in. And it's not for the sake of a ribboned coat or the selfish hope of a season's fame, but his captain's hand on his shoulder smote. Play up, and play the game. The sand of the desert is sodden red, red with the wreck of a square that broke. The Gatling's jammed and the colonel's dead, and the regiment blind with dust and smoke. The river of death has brimmed its banks, and England's far and honour and name. But the voice of the schoolboy rallies the ranks. Play up, and play the game. This is the word that year by year, while in her place the school is set, every one of her sons must hear, and none that hears it dare forget, that they all with a joyful mind bear through life like a torch in flame, and falling, fling to the host behind. Play up, and play the game. On behalf of Fuzzy, who has flung to you youngsters the torch with his falling, I implore all of you today, play up, and play the game. Just do what he did. You know, the essence when someone passes away is that we not judge them, but those things that were good about them, we imitate them. And those things that were maybe less good, we forgive. That's just the way that it has to be. And Fuzzy has left an incredible legacy. And I was saying to one of my staff members, you know, that probably not more than 20% of what we pass on to others is passed on verbally or in coaching or something like that. What is passed on is our attitude, the way we speak to people, the unconscious things, the things that are unsaid. And you will look back on Fuzzy and his life, and you will realize that he was making impressions on you when he didn't even know he was making impressions on you. You'll think back and suddenly you'll realize, oh, Fuzzy said that. Fuzzy told me that. And I know what he would be saying to you guys today. He'll be saying, I'm gone. Step up to the plate. Someone else step up to the plate. Who's going to take over? I'm watching you guys. I can do no more for you. Well, perhaps in a way that he can. In the book of Hebrews, the writer gives an illustration of athletes in a stadium, and they're circled by what he calls this cloud of witnesses, the dead heroes of faith who've gone before. And he says, imagine them like spectators above this field, and they're shouting their encouragement. Every time you put those pads on, you grab that new ball and you go out there. Just visualize that Fuzzy's watching you, and he's saying, listen, I'm with you guys. I'm still in management. I'm just doing it from a different place. And I'd really pray that God will bless the people that he's left behind. You know, we men, we grew up when it was the days of the mentality, you know, cowboys don't cry. In cases of extreme stress, they might hug their horses, you know, but we don't do that. I want to tell you guys, we don't use the word love among men, but we need to do that. And today is all about, if we think about it, saying the things about Fuzzy that we should have said to him, sharing things about him that we should have shared with him. And I know that he appreciated all of you. I know that he did that. And I know that what he wants is that continuation where you all go out and do exactly the same as what he did for others. That's a wonderful challenge. And I'm sure when the first home game comes, we'll have other ways of paying tribute to him. I'm sure there's going to be tournaments with his name on the trophy. That'll all be coming in due course. But about these difficult times now, and I want to just say this as well. You know, being young, I remember that, some of us remember that, some in our distant memory. Being young means expending your energy and jolting and doing all the things that young people do. It's not the time for it now. Take this very seriously, what's happening right now, people. I've every single day this week, I've been given another name of a person who has passed on. They're not all old. They're not all old bullies like me. Not all like people like me who don't buy green bananas, because that's a bit of a risk we're taking. You know, there's young people that are going as well. There's parents and children that take this very seriously indeed. I want to read a couple of messages here. The one is from Damien. The very last time that I sat up there and spoke with Fuzzy, he was telling me about Damien going overseas and how proud he was of that. And Damien, I know that you're watching, and I want you to know that your dad specifically said that to me. It was so great that you were spreading your wings and doing the things that you're doing. Damien says, tribute to Dad, the greatest man I will ever know. First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone that has shown so much love and support for my father. Even though these are difficult times, I'm grateful for all those attending today to say farewell to the man who I regard as a father, a mentor, and a friend. To say I loved my dad would be an understatement, and to say I'm going to miss him will be an even greater understatement. Since I was young, he has always been a role model for me. My honest nature, my love for sports, even my dry sense of humor can be attributed to him. It was incredible as a child to have a walking sports encyclopedia around me to answer all my stupid questions. The values and discipline of sport really helped me grow as a person, and I thank him for bringing it into my life. He was always a great source of advice for me, as almost every important decision I had, I would ask for his opinion. This was because he was such an easy person to talk to, and also was not afraid to speak his mind. Some of my fondest memories with him were when we watched the Liverpool games together, having a cup of tea or coffee, which I made obviously, and throwing a very few colourful words at the ref. Might seem like a normal evening, but looking back now, they are moments I will cherish. I will also miss the wimpy breakfast we would share on the weekends, where we would talk about the week to come and the interesting things that were happening in the world. It's in these little moments that you truly understand what a great person he was. His personality and his very nature was something that I think people gravitated towards, as his dry sense of humor and quick remarks were a joy to behold, as long as you weren't on the receiving end. He was a kind soul at heart and would always help me no matter what. Whenever I needed help or had any problems, I knew I could rely on him, because that was the kind of man he was. He might have seemed a bit prickly on the outside, but I was fortunate enough to see the sensitive side of him, even though he didn't want to show it. As a father, he taught me important life lessons that I will take forward and never forget. He taught me to always be kind to those who deserve it and to help those that need help. But most importantly, he told me to live life just the way I want to. This has led me to being the man I am today. And I hope that he's proud, because I'm certainly proud to have called him my dad. It was an honor to have shared his life, and he will be sorely missed. To know that he is no longer a phone call or a chat away to ask him for advice breaks my heart, but I will do my best to move forward, as I'm sure he would want all of us to do. There is a quote that says, people die twice, once when they draw their last breath, and again when their name is said for the last time. With this in mind, I believe he will live on in our hearts and minds for a long while yet. The legacy he left behind will not be forgotten so easily, as he has touched the hearts of so many people in his life. And I know I will never walk alone, because I will always carry him in my heart. You know, when one thinks of so many dysfunctional families and rifts between family members and friends and that kind of thing, you just appreciate what it means when a young man can say that about his father. Just absolute wonderful testimony. And then from Fuzzy's niece, Sally Ann, on behalf of Fuzzy's sister Jennifer and his mom Dorothy and the extended family. They say that funerals are for the living, and based on the tremendous outpouring of sorrow over the loss of our dear Fuzzy, we would agree with that statement. We were bound to Fuzzy by blood and were a small, close-knit family unit, but you were the extended family that he chose for himself. Fuzzy will be remembered by so many for different reasons. His zest for life touched many lives. His sporting achievements impressed his opponents over the years. He was able to inspire and guide many people, young and old, through his love and passion for sport. As a young boy, Fuzzy spent his days playing sport, whether it was being one of the best young goalies, cricket, softball, or casually slaying you at either pool or darts. He had the most accurate eye for a ball, and I would never have risked wagering my money on a game with him, ever. He knew everything about sport and every player. I've never known anyone to be so passionate about sport, except maybe for his dad, Chuki. Fuzzy was naughty. He always had a twinkle in his eye. He was that uncle that would arrive with a six-pack of beers and a bag of sweets, and when he spent time with you, he always gave you his full attention. He never had a bad word to say about anyone, and he made even the most boring situations fun. There was a permanent grin, well hidden under that Magnum PI moustache. I've never met anyone that did not like Fuzzy. He could connect with everyone, whatever their age or background, and he would make them laugh and find something common with them. I will never forget him or the way he made us feel. He was a son, a brother, an uncle, a father to Damien, a friend, and will remain forever so through our treasured memories of him. Fuzzy, until we meet again, may the fairways be lush, the greens be kind to you, and the beers always cold. I hope that you have found your dad and that the two of you are having a couple of beers together. Just absolutely wonderful testimony. I know that there are others as well who are going to share testimony. I might just say to you all that I spoke about an hour ago to Rajan Harinarain, the sponsor of RH Construction, the sponsor of the team. And I know Fuzzy would have said to me, did you tell him to keep on sponsoring? But Rajan just wanted to extend his sympathies as well to Fuzzy and to all the team as well. He is thinking of you guys. And I don't think you're going to need to worry about future sponsorship coming from him. He had the utmost respect for Fuzzy. And it made him proud that the team wore his company logo with so much pride. That did so much for him. It gave back to him just as he had given to the club. I'm going to call on John Allen now, who's going to read a tribute for us. Thanks, John. Thereby dispelling the rumour that front row forwards can't read.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Richard, my brother, asked me to read a message from Craig Neve. You might have known Craig. He was the former headmaster of Felixton, but more importantly, he was at school with Fuzzy, and he grew up with Fuzzy, and he knows him well. The message will probably tell it all. But before I get to the message, we all played softball with Fuzzy. And I've got a little story I would like to share with you. At the time we were playing softball, I was breaking through into rugby. And I confided in Fuzzy my fears and my worries. My opponents that I was up against were big, strong, very skillful, athletic. And I asked Fuzzy his advice. So he had said to me, John, it doesn't matter if you're not fast enough. It doesn't matter if you haven't got the natural skills. It doesn't matter if you're not big enough, which you can see now. It's not the problem right now. In fact, at the same time, Ian Mack called me into his office when Tommy Lawton arrived and said, John, I think you need to start eating and going to gym. He'll tell you now his biggest regret is if he got to tell me to stop eating. So he says, not fast, doesn't matter if you're not fast enough, doesn't matter if you're not skillful enough or natural skills, and it doesn't matter if you're not big enough. What matters the most is your heart, as long as your heart is big enough. And that same belief and principle is the reason why I continue to play rugby for 2 countries. So Fuzzy, for that advice, thanks, mate. Richard, I need a passcode here. Do you want to tell everyone it? Especially Odette. Do you want to tell Odette? Yo, how do you remember that? That's more than at least 10 letters. Tribute to Brian van Aswegen. It was with great shock and sadness that I read the WhatsApp message with the news of Fuzzy's untimely passing. I first met Fuzzy in the late 1960s when we played football against one another as young boys. However, my first real encounter with him came in 1971. It was a Saturday morning, under 14 fixture between New Forest High and George Campbell. At that stage of my life, I was at New Forest and played scrum half. Fuzzy was at Campbell and he was playing fly half. New Forest had a useful team of Montclair and Woodlands boys, and Campbell was slightly less accomplished and substantially smaller in stature. I know it's hard to believe, but Fuzzy was a small 14-year-old. New Forest were asserting their dominance, and the Campbell boys were wilting under the pressure. Halfway through the second half, with Fuzzy in possession and on the back foot, the New Forest equivalent of Bucky's Boerta, Trevor Fourie, was bearing down on him. Moments before impact, Fuzzy randomly threw the ball into the air and took evasive action, much to the amusement of the Forest team. I never allowed him to forget this and often teased him. Shortly after this encounter, we moved from Montclair to North Beach, and I became Fuzzy's classmate at Campbell, and very soon best of friends. Fuzzy was deceptively a very good all-round sportsman. In spite of his rugby incident against Forest in 1971, he grew and became the most competent, versatile backline player and goal kicker. He also continued to play football and played every position on the field at some stage, including goalkeeper. We know that Fuzzy loved his sport, and I had the privilege of playing alongside him, whether it was softball or baseball, tennis or squash, golf or athletics. Fuzzy was always there. He loved high jump and hurdles. He was the school 110-meter hurdle champion, and while his Fosbury flop high jump technique was impeccable, he was never going to beat those tall lads. Cricket was always Fuzzy's passion, and he was a good schoolboy all-rounder, making the North Durban Schools team in 1975, which included Brian Whitfield and a number of very other competent cricketers. I must share another story of a cricket fixture on the Tech cricket grounds. There was a large lad batting who was slogging us around a little. Fuzzy was fielding at mid-wicket, and the batsman skied a shot aimed to clear the cow's corner fence. He steadied himself under the catch, and in spite of his safe hands, he spilled the catch. In a fit of rage and anger, he picked up the ball, and with his strongest centre field arm, he hurled the ball in the general direction of the stumps. The batsman was returning for their second when the stray ball struck the batsman while he was halfway down the track and ricketed onto the stumps. Fuzzy's disappointment immediately turned to elation, and he then proceeded to do a flying lap of honour. Fuzzy was always willing to serve on committees, and get involved in coaching. This unselfish attitude meant he met and influenced many people's lives through sport, often digging into his own pocket to do so. Fuzzy and I remained loyal friends for many years. Our birthdays were 2 days apart, and we never failed to speak to one another on those days, no matter where we were in the world. During our school days, he gave me the nickname Bomber. I was never quite sure what prompted that particular name, but every time he greeted me, be it face to face or on the phone, he would say, "Hi, Bomber." While I was never particularly attached to that nickname, it saddens me greatly to think that I will never hear those words uttered again by my dear friend. I had the real privilege of moving up to Zululand in 2014, and this gave me the opportunity to see one another more often. In hindsight, I wish I had made more of this opportunity to spend more time with them than I did. A stark lesson for all of us in our lives. People, friends, family are important. Cherish every moment you have with them. Be on good terms at all times, as no one never knows what life has in store for us. Fuzzy was a true friend, someone I would call on for help at any time of the day or night. He didn't have an easy life, but he never allowed this to turn him into a bitter or angry person. I know we will all miss our dear friend, and I pray that his soul rests in eternal peace. Until we meet again, stay wrapped in the safe arms of our Lord and Saviour. Amen. Craig Neve. So lastly, I would just like to end with a poem. This poem is dedicated to Fuzzy, but also for those that didn't know, my mom passed away, or Richard and our mom passed away 3 weeks ago, so it's actually dedicated to both of them. It's called We Remember Them. When we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember them. When we have a joy we crave to share, when we have decisions that are difficult to make, when we have achievements that are based on them, we will remember them. At the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, at the opening of the buds and the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and the warmth of summer, at the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the rising of the sun and at its setting, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now part of us as we remember them.
Thanks, John. I'm going to call on Ruan now. Bumpy is going to share a message on behalf of the players.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to read 4 letters from letters we received from all over the show, and we felt that these are very important to read to everyone. And yeah, a lot of these guys wanted to be here today, but obviously because of COVID they can't attend, but I'm sure they're watching the live stream today. The first one will be from Professor Albert Basson. He says, "Dear family, especially to his son Damien, all cricket players, ex-players and friends. It was with sadness that I've received news that Fuzzy passed. What a gentleman in the world of cricket. Fuzzy was always so proud to share the achievements of his team, never taking credit himself, always praising his team and giving the team credit for their achievements. He always wanted the best for his team. That included upgrading of the change room, cleanliness of the pavilion, the outfield, and the preparation of the wicket. Fuzzy was detailed and disciplined. One could appreciate the detail and passion when he took you to his Zululand room at Addison Park, unlocking the door and proudly showing one of the photos. And you will see if you go into it, there's so many photos of all the players, ex-players, as well as people that was involved with Zululand cricket from the start. Fuzzy took cricket into the rural areas at a level of excellence. Under his leadership, he managed to do his thorough best, and his dedication and passion for the game. Unfortunately, it's only when people leave us that we realize that they did so much for the team and the contribution that they've made. We've read a number of articles the past week on exactly how respected Fuzzy was and the huge contribution he has made to cricket in Natal. We will miss him. He's truly the Mr. Cricket of Zululand." The next one is from Leon Kutsia, Chairman of Rural Cricket South Africa. He says he will always remember Fuzzy van Aswegen for the passion and unveiling love of cricket, adding that as an executive member, he served Rural Cricket South Africa with dignity and pride. His never give up attitude made him an admirable individual. He transformed the role of the manager of the Rural Cricket South Africa team the moment he was appointed. He raised the bar, which brought the best out of players. His insightfulness and positive attitude as an ExCo member was highly appreciated and respected by his peers. Fuzzy, we will definitely miss you. It will not be an easy task to fill the void you've left. We will cherish every moment we spend with you. God bless and good luck to the family. The last one is from the players, written by Simon on behalf of the players. A week ago, we lost a member of our squad. Being simply a manager was never in your nature. A champion, a giant amongst men, a great gentleman, a friend. The tributes you have received are ever the word that comes up most, and in all of them is with no argument the word legend. Not one to mince your words, you were Pops when he needed to be, or Sonny Bill Williams when the situation called for it. But always direct to the point with the objective to motivate and get the best out of your teams, your players, as well as your friends. For 2 decades, you fiercely cared for, protected and nurtured Zealand cricket into the great union it is now. Directly or indirectly involved in getting players playing a higher standard of cricket, not only for themselves, but also for their country at both districts and Protea level. Your level of passion is unrivaled, the level of pride unparalleled, the selfless giving of yourself unprecedented. What size shoe do you have? We used to hear that quite a lot in the change room. You'd almost jokingly say, when someone sat in your chair at our beloved Addison Park, well, those shoes that you are wearing is not big enough to sit in that chair. As a team, we had a goal we still need to fulfill for you, getting you to national champs. We will continue to fight the fight with the courage and determination you instilled within us. And what better time to do it than into the century here for Zealand cricket. Fuzzy, you were a true gambler, but we can't help to feel that we were the real winners. May you rest easy, big guy. Look up upon us with continued pride. Now there's really nowhere for us to hide from you.
Thanks, Ruan. Sometimes what's not said carries more weight than what is said. Can I ask Anton now to come forward, please? Oh, sorry, Richard, are you next on the list? Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Morning all, afternoon. Brian Roy van Aspergen. Guys, I could stand here for hours talking about Fuzzy, but I won't. Firstly, because my emotional state won't allow it. And secondly, all of you that are here today know the person and have your own personal experiences and relationships with him that will last with you guys forever. I'm sure you all know Fuzzy well, and anything I say here won't change your thoughts or your feelings towards the man. I met Fuzzy in 1978, schoolboy, standard 8. We played softball together. He had a Ford Sierra, we had wheels. After school, I played club and provincial softball with Fuzzy, whilst he also played soccer and cricket, and I went and played rugby. In 1986, I played soccer with him after a rugby injury at Mandine Park, where we spent countless hours, practices, games, beers, friendship. 1989, I moved to Zululand. I moved to Empangeni. 1990, 6 months later, Fuzzy moved as well. Fuzzy stayed with me longer than my first marriage. He built his own granny flat in my house. We played softball together. We played in Zululand. We played softball together. We formed our own softball side. We started here with flowers. Then we moved to the rugby club. I played rugby. He played cricket. He played action cricket. We were together 12 months of the year. 1997, when I made the national side, Fuzzy was previously the Natal coach, and the Natal squad allowed me to go and train with them in Durban. Fuzzy, being on the coaching staff, knew exactly what was in store for me when I went down to those practices. Fuzzy drove down to Durban with me for every single practice, so he could drive me home, because he knew how tired and buggered I would be after the practice. We continued to play sport on the same teams up until his passing. Most recently, KZN Rhinos Golf on our Brady's tours. I've been 80% of all my tours with Fuzzy, and it was normal to go away with the man. I received a tribute from Gareth Scott, Springbok baseball and softballer, who Fuzzy coached. And I quote, "Brian was a great mate, a great teammate and coaching mentor without even knowing it." Calls, I've received calls from all over. They've all been overwhelming with praise and respect. But I just want one more call. "Hey Rich, let's go for a beer." Some philosopher once said, "Everything doesn't happen for a reason. At times, utterly crap things happen for no reason at all." Away from the sporting front, Fuzzy was an astute businessman who ran his own business. However, I believe horse racing took precedent over his business hours. He was a father to Damien, whom he idolized and would do anything for. He even left Zululand so Damien could school in Durban. Damien has now finished varsity with honours degrees at Stellenbosch University. Damien was everything to Fuzzy, as was his direct family, namely Jennifer, Jennifer his sister, and Sally Ann his niece. Damien, you must just know that the Zululand community and cricket fraternity are here should you need us. Damien, you've lost a father, but you've gained a lot of more brothers. Rest in peace, Brian Roy van Aspergen. Cheers, Fuzzy.
Okay, it's my responsibility to say a word of thanks and to wrap up. To Dave Savides. Dave, you are truly the pillar of strength of our community. Thank you very much for leading today's memorial and for the beautiful words that you expressed. I think Fuzzy gravitated towards you because you both share the same reason to give and to serve the community. I think that friendship was all about that, giving back. Thank you, Dave. To Jacques Steenkamp, your technical expertise for putting this out there, sharing it with people that couldn't make it here today, especially the family and close friends of Fuzz. I know they are watching, and I'm sure they're hugely proud of what they've heard today. So all the tributes that have been passed, hundreds and hundreds of tributes on social media, on various platforms. I know Fuzzy would have been immensely proud. Such beautiful words. And I think, as Ruan said, he was a legend. He was bigger than the average human. He was better than the average human. He bore no grudges, no ill feelings. There was no hate. He just loved and wanted to give. To the Mpingeni Cricket Club for allowing us to use the facility. It's absolutely perfect and the perfect setting. To the office next door, who will provide us with some snacks and cool drinks after the service. Please feel free to join us. To our little committee that sprung into life on the morning of Fuzzy's passing a week ago today. You know who you are, you know what you've done, and I'm so proud to be part of it. It really was a pleasure to put this together for Fuzzy. To Carmen, the Rock. I know Fuzzy has been sort of like, it seems like now, grooming you. thank you so much for being there, for being the anchor, and for allowing us to put this together in his honor. I think Eugene Swart, in his tribute, ended off by saying, "No regrets, brother." And I think that sums it up. Fuzzy lived every day and every moment and every minute for the moment. And although he has left us early, I don't think he left with many regrets. No regrets, brother. Lastly, I think Fuzzy would want us to end the mourning process. He would want us to wipe away the tears now, get the smiles back on our faces. Let's get the journey back on the road. As hard as it may be, life has to go on. We know he'll be watching. He'll be around. We'll miss him immensely. But we thank him for all the memories. Thank you, Fuzz.
Thanks, Anton. It's a strange thought that one day someone will speak of each of us in the past tense and the third person. But there is a way in which people live on, a couple of ways. One of that is spiritually, as we leave earth for heaven. Another one is the way that we continue to live within the hearts and the memories of those that we leave behind. I'm going to ask that we close together just by standing and sharing a prayer, please. Father, we thank you that in your wisdom and your planning, you saw fit to send Fuzzy to us, to this part of the world, to this place, to serve and to be a steward of cricket and a servant of the cricket players. Thank you for the friendships. Thank you for the bridges that he built. Thank you for the humanity that he showed to others. Father, we do not say today that you took someone from us, but we say that you gave someone to us, and we thank you for blessing us with that. I ask, Lord, please, for safe traveling mercies to those who must return to their homes and will be on the roads. I pray for the health and safety of each one of us, especially during this COVID-19 virus and what's happening around us. I pray, Father, that you will help us each to become each other's for one another in just the same way that Fuzzy looked after his team and his beloved friend players. Bless us now, Father, as we leave this place. We ask in your name. Amen.